ain't no prosecutors down. They not doing their job.
And we're not saying everybody's innocent. We just said these individuals are innocent.
2 affidavits signed that it wasn't him.
Let him go.
Who's gonna go?
Charles Hines.
75 years for robbery.
For robbery?
For robbery.
I've been working a lot with the wrongful conviction movement in Brooklyn, New York, documenting its evolution as far back as 2012, before news outlets like the New York Times took up the story.
Raymond Henry remains in prison, Bill, despite the fact that...
Over the years, I worked with Derek Hamilton, who did 20 years for a murder he didn't commit.
And all I ask is for a fair trial. Give my son a fair trial.
As well as Doreen Giuliano, the mother of John Juca, who was sentenced to prison for the Mark Fisher murder after a trial loaded with prosecutorial misconduct.
Isn't it tough to convict someone that way?
Doreen's been all over the national talk shows and featured in Vanity Fair. Even before his release from prison, which I covered, followed by his exoneration in 2015, Derek Hamilton has been assisting prisoners file motions to get their cases reviewed.
In the task force report on American Bar Association, they recommended that a charge be given about...
In early October, Derek telephoned and told me I was going to North Carolina to interview a couple of brothers who were released from prison after serving 30 years on death row. He said DNA evidence had cleared them of raping and murdering an 11-year-old girl in the early 80s, and that when they got out of prison, they were sleeping on cots in somebody's house. Derek assigned 2 professional drivers, Cleve and Petey, who picked me up in New York. We then headed off to North Carolina.
This is Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, The War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman.
We begin today's show with the case of 2 African-American half-brothers who have been exonerated of rape and murder convictions in North Carolina after over 30 years behind bars. Henry Lee McCullom and Leon Brown were found guilty.
As things turned out, the 2 brothers were Henry McCullom and Leon Brown, and that I would be essentially shooting stuff for a WNBC TV reporter in New York, Sarah Wallace, who was doing a story about the 2 brothers. The whole thing happened so quickly that I didn't have an opportunity to research the story before heading down to it.
417 First Street is 3 miles and 6 minutes away.
And once we got there, we were all over the place, mostly traveling to different locations to shoot elements for the New York TV story.
Hi, thank you for calling North Star. My name is Keisha. How may I help you?
Yes, how you doing? I asked for directions to, what's the address?
So what emerged with Henry McCullom was an informal interview, a conversation really. But as we talked, I realized Henry needed to be interviewed more thoroughly. And after our short session, Henry took me aside and told me he wanted to tell his life story. What follows are excerpts from our conversation. I hope after watching it you'll agree with me that Henry and others need to be properly interviewed at length, with controlled lighting conditions, better microphones, and more preparation on the part of the interviewer.
And he stopped. He said, man, you out here cutting grass? And my mom got me out of bed. He said, what you doing in bed this late, right? I said, hey, man, I just overslept and stuff. He said, yeah. He said, where was you last night when you were coming from the projects over to the Mill Village? And I'm saying to myself, why would he ask me some question like that for, right? Mm-hmm. That don't sound right. And I said, well, I'll go ahead and tell him. I said, I was coming from the house, and I was with Judy McCrae, right? He said, oh, man, you know you wasn't with no Judy McCrae last night. I said, man, how you going to tell me who I was with? I said, if you don't believe me, you go to her house now, and she'll tell you I was with her. He said, nah, that ain't what I heard. I said, what you talking about? What you heard, right? He said, I heard that you was with that girl, Sabrina, that night. I said, nah, you heard wrong. Mm-hmm. I said, I got proof where I was at. Mm-hmm. He said, yeah, and then he started mumbling and all that crazy stuff and all that. I said, man, let me get away from this fool. Because he ain't nothing but a problem, right? So what I did, I turned my mother, that grass cutter off, right? Just went on back in the house, and he kept calling my name and stuff, right? And when I got in the house, my mother noticed something different about me, right? She said, who was that you out there talking to? I said, I was talking to LP. She said, what do he want, right? He talking about I was with some girl named Brenda last night. And my mother said, don't pay him no mind, because he untruthful. He lies too much, right? And when she had told me that, it didn't really leave my mind. Cause I'm wondering, how you gonna say that I was with this girl that night, and I went to the Mill Village with you and came back with you? So I know that he made that story up. So I just sit there, right?
Is this guy like a local town liar? What is your relationship with this guy that you were talking to? You knew him, right?
No.
He wasn't like a detective or a cop. Was he a stranger?
But to me, he was a stranger. His brother was going with my sister. I met him when I came down here.
But his brother's dating your sister.
Huh?
His brother was dating your sister.
Right.
The guy that came up and started saying this stuff about you.
Yeah.
Right. Was he a cop?
Later on in life, he was a snitch.
A snitch, okay. That's how that started? You think it started with him, with the rumor, that ended up with you getting arrested and then spending what?
Not only him.
But a whole bunch of people.
It was another girl. A girl where she heard a rumor at school, then she ran with it when it wasn't true.
So it's a small town rumor and that type of thing. Everybody was talking about it, and then you get convicted, a premeditated murder.
I was tricked into signing a false confession.
False confession. Then they convict you, put you on death row.
Yeah.
For how many years?
I stayed on death row for the first time when I was sentenced in 1984, October 25th. I came to death row and stayed like 4.5 years because I won a new trial in February 8th of 88. Then we got off and went to safekeeper. I stayed on safekeeper for 3.5 years. My brother stayed 4 years, but they tried me first. Well, the first time it took like 4.5 years for me to get a new trial.
And then you were innocent at the trial?
No, they found me guilty.
Guilty again?
And once he sentenced me to death, I had 2 officers, correction officers of 2 females escorting me back and forth to court. When they seen the expression on my face that I ain't show no kind of emotion and stuff, right? The woman asked me, said, most people come in here, they go off. It goes in crying fits and all that. She said, I wonder why it didn't hit you like that. I said, I just came off death row with a new trial, so it don't faze me no more, right? And she said, oh my God,
she did not know.
She couldn't believe that, right? But what she didn't know was I had God with me. She didn't know that. That's where my faith got stronger, and that's where I never gave up, because I knew it was hope down that road somewhere. One day, I always believed that I was gonna come up out of that place, but you can't come out on your time. You only could come out on God's time.
But the way they have damaged and treated Leon, it really, really hurts. Leon is unable to function on his own. Leon's been treated like a dog inside that prison between each and every one that had hands on him. They knew he was sick from the door, day one, and they sent him out here with no Medicaid for help. Everywhere he go, he doesn't get the good treatment that he needs to be able to function out here.
I was crying for joy and everything, and happy to know that he was coming out, but the way he came out, that had me even crying more. You know, like a zombie.
Leon, even though I know it, can you say your name and then spell it for the editor? Whoever looks at the clip can have the right spelling.
Okay, Leon Brown. First name is Leon. Last name is Brown.
And you are Henry's brother, Henry's brother. And you guys basically got framed up through rumors for the murdering of a little kid in a rape and murder, and then spent 30 years on death row.
Yes.
And can you tell us about any kind of internal, like, what was that like? Did it cause an internal transformation in you at all, as an innocent person?
Just made us draw closer to the Lord. You know, realizing that we needed God's help. You know, it hurted, you know, to be there, but we knew we was innocent. God would take care of us. We did what we supposed to do, you know, to make it. When I first went in there, I didn't have the faith that I have now. It grew. It didn't happen overnight. God dealt with me, you know what I'm saying, as a youth, young. Put people around me to help me out. One brother helped me out with Sonny Craig. You know, helped me and my brother out, started us off in the Word, prayed with us and helped us, you know. Then everybody else that was there come around and helped us out alone, you know. So God had us around people that was for us to help us out.
When you heard that you were free, who told you that?
Well, the lawyers, you know, they let us know, you know, that we was able to go now. We was able to go. We was free to go. Yeah.
Prison damaged him real bad, messed him up. Where he walked out that door, he didn't like, he wasn't in his right mind no more.
So he didn't make it, basically, like in terms of psychological. How did you do that?
I have, in prison, I stayed strong for my little brother, trying to help both of us get out. I started writing places, trying to seek help to prove our innocence, and a lot of these people refuse to give me the legal help to help to prove this case and stuff. So where that came to the point was I just got tired writing. Nobody ain't giving me no response or nothing. So what I had did, I turned my life around. I started praying more, asking God to help me and everything. It's like a man out in the woods, don't really know nobody, and he got to survive out there. Only way for him to survive, he got to live on land. He got to eat from land. Animals, anything is in that wood, he got to eat it, or else he gonna starve and die. All right, that's the way I look at it with me on North Carolina death row. The difference with death row is in no woods. I'm locked up inside one man's cell, a confinement, steel concrete, where it's all concrete, the walls concrete, and a steel bunk bed. Where the mattress is something like that. I laid on that all those years. I laid in that cell at night, crying, wondering, is the state gonna kill me? I had dreams that they took me downstairs and they strapped me on that gurney, on that bed, with that legal ejection and killed me. I dreamed of that. And I wake up late at night sweating with chills and stuff, shaking and stuff, right? I said, no, that's not going to happen. And it's like something was like torturing my mind or something, making me think that's going to happen and stuff. So that's when I start turning things around. I said, no, they ain't going to kill me. I kept saying that every day. And then that's when I started seeing amazing things.